car your way.
Wanna check some cars out in person? Wanna look some more from your house? Okay.
Want to pretend you know about engines?
Nah, I'll just chat with CarMax online instead.
Wanna get pre-qualified from your couch? Woo! Wanna get that car?
Hey, SAP!
You wanna do it your way.
Want to drive? CarMax.
What's up, Dub Nation? Vontae Hill here. And if you eat, sleep, and breathe Warriors basketball like I do, then you need to be locked in with the Dubs Talk podcast. Every week, join me and Monty Poole as we break it all down. Get the breaking news, in-depth analysis, exclusive interviews, and everything in between. It's all Warriors, all the time. Whether you're at home or on the go, tap in to stay ahead of the game with new episodes dropping weekly. The NBC Sports Bay Area Dubs Talk podcast. Download now wherever you get your podcast.
RingCentral's AI receptionist uses voice AI to answer on the first ring, so you'll never miss a call again. In just a few minutes, you can personalize your own AI receptionist to answer questions, route calls, schedule appointments, and even send texts in multiple languages. Plus, it's easy to scale. Create unlimited AI receptionists across any phone system. It's all powered by one reliable platform for effortless AI communications. See for yourself at ringcentral.com. RingCentral, voice of your business.
All members of Dub Nation know 2 essential truths. 1, the Warriors have the best point guard in the history of the game. And 2, the very best planes in the sky are United. New planes are joining the United fleet every week, decked out with Bluetooth connectivity, screens, and power at every seat, and bigger overhead bins to fit everyone's carry-on, or giant foam fingers. Download the United app and book your next trip today. United Airlines, proud to be the official airline of the Golden State Warriors.
Thanks for showing up, Dub Nation. Nothing beats catching your Warriors live, and nobody knows that better than you. So next time you want to hit up a game, Ticketmaster's got your back. As the official ticket marketplace of the Warriors and the NBA, even if you're headed to the game last minute, Ticketmaster gets you to the game so you can experience all the sights, sounds, and styles in person. Keep putting that jersey collection to use and get Warriors tickets today at Ticketmaster. Get tickets at Ticketmaster.com/Warriors. See you courtside again soon, Dub Nation.
What's up, Dub Nation? Do you want to get cash back on Warriors gear? All you have to do is sign up at Rakuten.com/Warriors, where you can earn 10% cash back in store and online at Warriors Shop. Once you're a member, shop your favorite stores like Fanatics and Ticketmaster and watch the cash back add up in your account. Rakuten is the most rewarding way for you to shop and maximize your savings. Join Rakuten for free today at Rakuten.com/Warriors or download the Rakuten app. That's RAKUTEN.
The Curry pump fake, fly by, 3-ball, with the buzzer sounding!
You've been listening to Golden State Warriors basketball on the Warriors Radio Network. Presented by United Airlines. For tickets, visit Warriors.com or call 888-GSW-WHO.
Don't you wish you were here?
This Odyssey Sports broadcast has been brought to you by Geico. Switch and save. Get more with Geico. You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ-FM and HD1 San Francisco on Odyssey Sports Station and the home of the Golden State Warriors and Valkyries. Always live on the free Odyssey app and now coming to you live from the Laughing Monk Studios.
Loose ball to Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield will drive and goes up, and it's good, but it's after the it's no basket. He dunked it after the buzzer. And that's how this game ends. With a Buddy Hield comedic moment. Well, there wasn't much comedy in this game tonight in the second half for the Warriors, as they lose by a count of 126-110, and to be honest, in the second half, it was not that close.
No, Tim is right. It was not that close. Final scores, you just heard the voice of the Warriors, Tim Roy, say 126 for the Atlanta Hawks, 110 for the Warriors as the Dubs fall once again. They are now 1-8 in their last 9 games, 2-10 in their last 12. They're 1-4 on this road trip, which closes on Monday in Dallas. More on Dallas in just a second, but welcome in. It's Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game. Mark Randy with you on this Saturday evening as we try to put the pieces together on a loss that kind of mirrored what happened last night in Detroit. And I don't just mean what happened on the floor, but also going into the game. Detroit down their best player in Cade Cunningham, an all-NBA candidate. He's going to get some MVP votes, assuming that he plays the 65 game necessary. What about tonight? Jalen Johnson of the Atlanta Hawks, their best player, probably will get some MVP votes and will be on an all-NBA team. That's how good he's been. Out. Did not play, just like Cade last night. What happens early? Warriors actually build a little bit of a lead in the first half. They led by as many as, I think, 9 in the first half last night. They led by as many as 8 in the first half tonight. Then the opponents closed the first half on a big run. That run leads into the second half, and the game feels over before the third quarter ends. And that's what tonight was. And you heard Tim Roy say, it was not as close as that final score suggests, and he's spot on. The final score, 126-110 in favor of Atlanta. The Hawks' largest lead was 28 at one point, and they ultimately win this game by 16 points. This is a Hawks team that is one of the hottest teams in basketball right now, if not the hottest. Their 11-game winning streak was just snapped last night in Houston, so they had a back-to-back as well, just like the Warriors. They traveled from Houston to Atlanta. The Warriors traveled from Detroit to Atlanta. Both these teams on a back-to-back, and neither were in Atlanta the night before. Atlanta looked like the fresher team. They frankly looked like the better team, even though they were down their best player. Now, of course, the Warriors are down their 2 best players, and some of you might think they're 3 best players, maybe they're 4 best players, maybe they're 5 best players, depending on how good you think Moses Moody and Al Horford are for this Warrior team. So it's understandable. But, man, frankly, I can't lie to you guys. I'm always going to keep it real here on Warriors Wrap Up, and I want to hear from you guys as well. Let me know if I'm wrong or if you agree. 888-957-9570. It is really, really difficult to watch this team play basketball right now. And I don't know what the solution is other than just wait for Steph to come back. And there was a positive update from the Warriors today regarding Steph's injury. Steve Kerr said pregame that he's going to get a scrimmage in Atlanta tomorrow before the team flies to Dallas. They play the Mavericks on Monday in Dallas to close out the 6-game road trip. And depending on how Steph's knee responds to that scrimmage tomorrow, maybe we see him back as early as Wednesday at home against the Nets. That's just purely a guess on my part. I don't know anything, but if his knee responds well tomorrow, maybe we're looking at a pretty quick return for Steph. We shall see. The larger point, though, is it's really, really difficult to watch this team play basketball right now. And it's the same issues over and over and over again. I kind of gave you the Cliff's Notes version of what happened last night and tonight. Let me give it to you exactly. Okay, so last night, the Warriors led by 9 in the second quarter. Then Detroit, spanning the second and third quarters, go on a 43-16 lead. So that's, a differential of 27 points. They outscore the Warriors by 27 points in about a quarter's worth of time, spanning the second and third quarters. They go from down 9 to up 18. Kind of feels like the game's over at that point. And then tonight, the Warriors led by 8 with about 8 to go in the first half. Atlanta closes the first half on a big run. They add on to that in the third quarter. Ultimately, that run is a 46-14 run in favor of Atlanta over about a quarter of game time. And they go from up 8, the Warriors do, to down 24. It was the same exact story, and it's even more specific than just that. Like, runs happen in different ways. An opposing team can just catch fire from downtown. Atlanta made 13 threes. That's not a gigantic number. It's not a terribly small number either. The Pistons made just 5 threes last night and dominated the Warriors. But what if I were to ask you, what was the number one reason? What was the fuel for the Atlanta run tonight? What was the fuel for the Detroit run last night? Warriors turnovers. Warriors turnovers over and over and over again. And Detroit's a hell of a defensive team. Atlanta, led by Dyson Daniels, he's a perennial all-defensive team candidate and is going to consistently get all Defensive Player of the Year votes throughout his career. They call him the Great Barrier Thief, right? It's a great nickname because of, he's from down under, but and he's a great defender, and he picks pockets all the time. But this is not like an incredibly great defensive team. The issue for the Warriors, whether they're playing a good defensive team or a bad defensive team, is just lack of attention to details and committing, frankly, some really, really bad turnovers. And it just happened over and over and over again tonight, specifically late first half and the entirety of the third quarter. The Warriors in the third quarter alone committed 7 turnovers, and it led to 15 Hawks points. They scored 39 points in the third quarter. 15 of them came directly off of Warrior turnovers. And it lost you the game. It was a 27-5 run. 27-5 run to begin the second half for Atlanta, and it was because of Warrior turnovers all the time in that third quarter. And that was the same thing that happened last night in Detroit. You remember last night, the Warriors committed 26 turnovers that led to 32 Detroit points. That was last night. And I sat here 24 hours ago and told you they were lucky it wasn't worse. 26 turnovers, that could very easily lead to upwards of 40 points off of turnovers if you're running into a team that is good at turning those turnovers into points on that night. Detroit was not last night. 26 turnovers led to 32 Detroit points. What happened tonight? 21 turnovers leading to 38 Atlanta points. And that is, the Warriors committed 5 fewer turnovers tonight, but Atlanta turned it into 6 more points than Detroit did those 5 more turnovers last night. That's the efficiency that could have hurt the Warriors even more last night. That hurt them tonight in terms of Atlanta's efficiency, creating turnovers and turning those turnovers into points. The Hawks committed 18 turnovers themselves, only 3 more than the Warriors, but the Warriors only scored 22 points off of those turnovers. So Atlanta nearly scored 2 points per turnover by the Warriors. The Warriors scored just a little more than 1 point off of every Atlanta turnover that they forced. That was one of the differences in this game. Over the last 2 nights, we're talking about 24 hours worth of basketball. 24 hours worth of basketball. The Warriors have committed 47 turnovers. 47 turnovers leading to 70 opponent points. 47 turnovers leading to 70 opponent points. Now, look, I get it. You look at the roster and you're asking yourself, okay, who's taking care of the basketball? The ball's in the hands of players like Brandon Pajemski and Guy Santos and Will Richard and LJ Cryer and Pat Spencer quite often, right? Like Richard played 31 minutes tonight, committed 3 turnovers. Guy is really struggling taking care of the basketball, and his scoring has kind of left him a little bit of late. He committed 4 turnovers tonight. You had 3 from Pods. Pods is having a really rough 3-4 game stretch. I thought he was good in New York versus the Knicks, but since then hasn't been very, very good at all. He scored just 5 points tonight. It was a -20 in the game. The Warriors lose by 16. So I get what the roster says and who's available and who you have taking care of the basketball, that's going to result in some turnovers. I get it. But it's not as if this is just Atlanta. To a certain degree, it was Dyson Daniels just pickpocketing a couple of players, and that's what happened with Ausar Thompson last night, too. Like, there are some moments of individual greatness by the opposing defenses that's forcing Warrior turnovers. But I don't know, at least a third up to a half of the Warriors' turnovers tonight are just terrible decisions that are happening over and over and over again. And frankly, it's really difficult to watch over and over and over again because it's the same thing, the same exact thing that hurt them last night. And that has hurt them for years now. And what's kind of strange is a couple of weeks ago, the turnovers actually weren't that big of an issue, but because they were unable to create those possessions and turn those possessions into points consistently, they still lost to teams like the Utah Jazz and to the Chicago Bulls, despite the fact that they were committing like 10 turnovers or fewer in a lot of those games. It's frankly, as a Warrior fan, it's pretty infuriating to watch right now. And I do have some even worse news for you, Warrior fans. If you were listening to Tim Roy and to RC Davis on the network post-game show here on 95.7 The Game, or maybe you're listening somewhere else on the network, and then you get YouTube going here for the post-game show for Warriors wrap-up here on 95.7 The Game. You heard both those guys talk about the score of the Clippers-Mavericks game in Dallas. The Clippers blew a 6-point lead late. The Mavericks forced overtime, but in overtime, the Clippers dominated, and they win that game 138-131. So the Clippers win. They're now sitting at 35-36, and the Warriors have a loss. The Warriors are now 33-38. So the Warriors are a game and a half behind the Clippers, who are the 9 seed, and 2 games behind the Blazers, who are the 8 seed. The Blazers idle, but the Clippers win in overtime in Dallas, and the Warriors lose in blowout fashion tonight in Atlanta. Warriors have lost 3 games in a row. They're 1-8 in their last 9. They're 2-10 in their last 12. They're 6-15 in the 21 games that Steph has missed, and they're 8-19 since Jimmy Butler tore his ACL. Not looking good for the Warriors right now, and it's looking all the more likely that they might be the 10 seed, which means you have to win 2 games, 2 do-or-die games, just to be the 8 seed and take on, in all likelihood, the OKC Thunder. Things are spiraling pretty quickly for the Warriors. The good news, if you are looking for some, I will try to provide you with some. I can give you a couple of things if you're searching for the good news. The good news is they've fallen as far as they can fall. They're the 10 seed right now. They will not be any worse than that. They could lose their remaining games, and they have 11 games left. They could finish the season 33-49. That would be losing their remaining 11 games. They will not be caught by the Pelicans, who are now officially the 11. The Grizzlies have fallen to the 12. They will not be caught. So you don't have to worry about that. There's a piece of good news, I guess, if you could call it that. It's really more so the absence of bad news, but the absence of bad news right now for the Warriors might qualify as good news. The other good news is I do think there was a pretty positive update on Stephen Curry from the Warriors today. Let me just read this for you from the Golden State Warriors. He was reevaluated today. The Warriors wrote, or they released, quote, "The reevaluation indicated that Curry continues to make good progress. He has intensified his individual on-court workouts, and as next steps, he will be incorporated into live action and team practices in the coming days. He will be reevaluated again after the team returns home next week." And the live action and team practices that the Warriors are saying they're going to incorporate him back into in the coming days, that's going to happen tomorrow morning before the team leaves Atlanta for Dallas. They're getting in a scrimmage, and Steph is going to be involved in that. And based on how his knee responds, that might impact when the next reevaluation is for Steph, whether it's early when they return home this coming week after the Monday game. Maybe they give an update on Tuesday. Maybe there's a chance that he plays on Wednesday. Maybe we wait a little bit longer if the knee doesn't respond as well as perhaps it could tomorrow. We shall see the way that it plays out. But ultimately, I do think that is some good news. And man, the Warriors better hope. They better hope that he comes back soon because, again, while they can't fall any further than they currently are, they are the 10 seed right now, and they're not going to be any worse than that. This basketball team right now is approaching territory that they have not been in a really long time, and that territory it feels like a chore to watch. It really does feel that way. There's not a lot that I can tell you based on what happened today that encourages you. Maybe the one thing I can tell you is that D'Anthony Melton has played in back-to-back games. He played 22 minutes tonight and largely was pretty good. Was the Warriors' leading scorer with 20 points, 7 of 15 from the field, made a couple of threes, looked pretty good physically, and he played in back-to-back games for the first time in a really long time. First time all season, first time since he underwent ACL surgery. I wonder if he played in any back-to-back games last year before the ACL. I can find that for you, but there's a piece of good news. In terms of like the play on the floor today, things that encouraged you. I mean, Nate Williams was great. Nate Williams had a career-high 19 points, was 8 for 10 from the field. LJ Cryer made 4 more threes. He's looking like he could be more than just a G League player, and he's definitely got the three-point shot to be able to make it in this league. It's a question more so of what he can do on the other end defensively. But the positives that we're looking for are some of these smaller level positives, and the Warriors right now just don't have anything going for them beyond that. And they lose another one tonight. They get blown out. It's a 16-point loss, but this was a blowout, 126-110. The game felt over after 3 quarters, and it's been that way a lot of late for the Warriors. They battled against the Knicks, and I credit them for battling against the Knicks. They could have won that game. They battled and won against a really bad Washington team. It felt, for the most part, they were in control of that game, but the Wizards did not go away, and they kept it pretty close in the second half in that game. The Warriors ultimately win that game, led by Porzingis, but this is now 3 straight games where you just get absolutely decimated. And look, the 3 teams that you just played are the 2 top teams in the East. Detroit last night, Boston the game before. They're seeds 1 and 2 right now. And then the hottest team in the East, or the entire NBA, in the Atlanta Hawks, who with today's win are now 12-1 in their last 13 games. So I get that the opponent matters, but I can also fire back at you and say, well, Cade Cunningham did not play last night, and Jalen Johnson did not play tonight. You're not at full strength, and you were certainly more hurt by the injury bug than the teams you just played, but let's not pretend that these other teams you're playing are at full strength either. You're getting blown out. You're getting run out of gyms right now, and you got one more game left on this road trip, and then you return home for a couple of games that you feel like could be wins in the Nets and the Wizards, but then you go right back out on the road. You've got the Nuggets on the road after that. The schedule has a couple of soft points the rest of the way, but we're talking about a lot of really, really tough games coming up still for the Warriors, even after this road trip, which is one of the tougher road trips that you could dream up, just based on opponents, and a couple of back-to-backs on this one as well. And the Warriors, again, they're 1-8 in their last 9. They committed 21 more turnovers tonight. That's 47 turnovers, leading to 70 opponent points in their last 2 games. We're talking about 24 hours, and the Warriors have committed 47 turnovers, leading to 70 opponent points. You just simply do not win basketball games doing that. All right, 888-957-9570 if you want to weigh in. 888-957-9570. Let's go out to the phone lines and check in with Chardol in Fremont. What's up, Chardol? You're on Warriors Wrap Up.
Hey, Mark Grandy, I'm a big fan of you on 95.7 The Game. I tune into your show every single night as the Atlanta Hawks take down the Golden State Warriors by a final score of 126-110. I think we got outplayed. I think we got out-hustled by a really good Atlanta Hawks team. We have Jalen Johnson, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and Jonathan Kuminga. I think like, you know, we're on a 3-game losing streak. So we have to break out of this funk because it's just not looking so good right now with the team. Like, it's looking really bad right now. But I think we're a resilient group, and then I think we can bounce back against our next opponent. But it was great calling to Warriors Wrap Up, and I hope you have a great rest of your night.
Thank you, Chardol. You too. Always appreciate the call. I mean, I think largely this is a resilient group. I think they have fought a whole lot harder, just in terms of, generally speaking, in terms of effort, in terms of in terms of energy, in terms of just general want to, than a lot of teams would, given their situation. And I credit the players and the coaches for keeping the group generally unified in that way. But I don't know, that only gets you so far when this is the talent that you're trotting out there. It's that in itself feels like a moral victory thing that you say, well, at least they're trying hard. And for the most part, they have tried hard through this really, really, really rough stretch. Again, they're 6-15 since Steph went down. They're 2-10 in their last 12 games. They're 1-8 in their last 9. Wherever you make the cutoff point, it's not good. It's ugly across the board. They're 8-19 since Jimmy Butler tore his ACL. They were 25-19 when Jimmy tore his ACL. That's 44 games. It took them 44 games to reach 19 losses. They've lost their next 19 games in 27 games. And that's what it's been. 27 games that Jimmy has missed in a row since he tore his ACL, and they're 8-19 in those 27 games. Like, I get that it kind of is what it is, and the energy and the effort and the resilience is one thing, but I have a hard time giving them the credit for that when the mistakes that they're making, when maybe you can say they're trying hard and they're playing hard and they're fighting and they don't go away, and, you know, they led by 8 in the first half, that's worth something, right? And yeah, I guess it is worth something, but it's harder for me to accept that as a major positive when everything else we're seeing from this team is just boneheaded turnover after boneheaded turnover. And it's really, really tough to watch right now. And the Warriors, they lose again. They fall to the Hawks 126-110. The Warriors are now 5 games under 500 for the first time this season. 33-38. They're 5 games under 500 for the first time this year. 888-957-9570. The Boxer and Gerson Work Injury Attorneys text line is chiming in, and the text line is absolutely full of comments about Jonathan Kuminga. The 510 writes, maybe the best thing one could say about this game was that it was fairly obvious that trading Kuminga was a good move. He looks like he hasn't advanced his game one bit. It was a rough game for Kuminga. There's no doubt. It was his worst game as a Hawk. He played 22 minutes and 18 seconds, had 2 points, was 1 for 9 from the field, 0 for 3 from downtown, turned the ball over 4 times. Turned the ball over 2 times, had 4 rebounds, 2 turnovers, had 1 steal. Looked largely not involved in the offense, was kind of hanging out off the ball and not doing a lot of moving. When he got on the ball, the Warriors pressured him defensively. I thought Nate Williams did a really good job on him defensively, had a couple of steals off of Kuminga and turnovers the Warriors forced when Kuminga was trying to dribble and drive around Warriors defenders. But, I mean, that's not like a victory lap or anything. Oh, Kuminga sucked. Okay, the Hawks won by 16, and they led by as many as 28 points. Whoop-de-doo. Another text that came in from the 949. Mark Grandy, disappointed in the Kuminga revenge game, was a horrendous 1 for 9 for 2 points. Yikes. The 949 texted again, Grandy, the Kuminga stan, bummed you thought he was going to drop a 50-piece on Kerr and the Warriors instead of 2 points. 949, I appreciate you listening, and I appreciate how much I seem to be in your head. I've never been described as a Kuminga stan before. I appreciate that. I wish nothing but the best for the kid. It was clearly never going to work here. He's been great so far in Atlanta. Not tonight. It happens. Players have bad games. It was pretty clear the Hawks didn't need him to beat this lowly Warrior team right now. Another text from the 470 on the Boxer and Gerson Work Injury Attorneys text line. Major positive for the Dubs tonight. During this losing streak, at least they held Kuminga to his worst game since they traded him to the ATL. Yeah, if you want to view that as a positive, I'll let you. I'm not going to argue you on that. There's going to be an even worse look on the Warriors organization if Kuminga goes elsewhere, like Atlanta, and turns into a quality player on a playoff-level team, and a guy that impacts winning. I think it still remains to be seen if that happens. This was, I believe, his 7th game played this year, and he's won now all 7 of the games he's played in. He had a big impact in a handful of those games. Not tonight. He probably was Atlanta's worst player tonight, but worst player on a team that wins by 16 points, you'll take it. It happens. It happens. And I thought, frankly, for the most part, he didn't really force all that much. It felt like this was a game that Kuminga probably meant a little bit more to Kuminga than a lot of the other games, and maybe he wanted to get his a little bit, but I thought, honestly, it was an encouraging sign for him that he didn't feel the need to do that. Now, took 9 shots, 1 for 9 from the field. His only bucket was a fast break lay-in in the third quarter, his first point scored. But yeah, he was nothing special today. Nothing to write home about, but I could say the same thing about just about every single other player that played for the Warriors today. And they lose by 16 points. Like, I know that so many Warrior fans, and quote-unquote Warrior fans, I've seen so much of it about Warrior fans, people that claim to be Warrior fans that are rooting for Kuminga to go out and dominate tonight to expose the Warriors for what they did wrong. I'll just say, if that's the way you feel, you're probably not much of a Warrior fan. If you're rooting for Kuminga to dominate the Warriors, maybe you're a Kuminga fan, which is fine to be that. I got nothing against the kid, but I don't know, I think just accurately describe who you are. And if that's what you're rooting for, then I don't know if you can call yourself a Warrior fan. But so many Warrior fans want to talk about the Kuminga part of it. And frankly, that's like so far to the back of my mind right now. The Warriors have major issues. And how do you solve them? Kuminga has nothing to do with that. Absolutely nothing. But it's crazy, everything that's coming through on the text line right now. I don't blame you guys. Like, it was one thing that I jotted down in my notes was, how does Kuminga play tonight? Like, it was going to be something I bring up, but it's not as if anything that happens now is going to change the Kuminga era and how it happened here with the Warriors. 888-957-9570 if you want to weigh in. Yeah, I will take your calls and your texts if you want to talk about Kuminga too. We can absolutely do that. I'm not saying we can't talk about Kuminga. I'm just saying let's frame this in the right point of view. Let's view this from the right viewpoint, because so much of what has happened in the head of Warrior fans, and I don't blame you, because this has been rough, not just this season, but the last couple of years, it's warped. And the Kuminga argument is a whole big part of that. So we can break that down. I do think there's a whole lot more important things to be discussing than how did Kuminga play tonight, because the Warriors have major issues. As we've seen of late, they ain't being fixed. And by the way, Steph Curry's return, despite how great he is not going to fix everything either. So we'll get to that. Plus, Steve Kerr did speak postgame. We will hear from Steve as well. And we will go out to your phone calls. I see a steel toe. We got to hit a quick break. We will come back and take your call as we continue here on Warriors Wrap-Up. Dubs fall to the Hawks 126-110. They are 1-8 in their last 9. And with a Clippers win, their ability to climb out of the 10 seed takes another hit. All right, time for a break. Mark Randy with you, back with more Warriors Wrap-Up next on 95.7 The Game.
It's about time delivery worked on your schedule. Same day, next day, or scheduled in advance. However you plan it, the Home Depot delivers the whole job. From drywall to doors, plumbing to paint, we'll get it there when you need it. Because on the job site, timing is everything. You order, we deliver. It's that easy. The Home Depot Pro. It's about time.
There's a difference between liking a house and actually getting it. Redfin is built to make up that difference and close the gap between finding and owning the home for you. Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents, so when you find a home you love, you're not a step behind when it's time to make an offer. That means less watching great homes disappear and more focus on the ones you'll actually move into and call home. Redfin helps turn saved listings into real addresses. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
What if you could have the most reliable Wi-Fi? And get this, what if you could keep it at the same price for 5 years? That's the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Just 5 years of fiber-powered Wi-Fi that boosts speeds to the devices that need them most. That finds and fixes problems before you even notice them. Like super intelligent Wi-Fi with a 6th sense. And that keeps you gaming in the fast lane, even when the whole family is banking on bandwidth. And here's the best part. No annual contracts, no hidden fees, and our best equipment included. Plus, get online in minutes with same-day Wi-Fi. Hey, let's face it, a lot can change in 5 years. Kids grow taller, dreams grow bigger, but your Wi-Fi, it would stay reliable and the price would stay put. The Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities. Xfinity, imagine that.
Select plans only. Restrictions apply. Powered by fiber. Connects to the premises by coaxial cable. Actual speeds vary.
Hey, it's Willard for Underdog, and the tournament is back. Let's do this. The upsets are inevitable. Underdog is the best place to get in on this action, and we're looking for specific players to show out in this tourney because you can make picks and win money right now in California. As you know, playing on Underdog is easy. You pick whether your favorite players are going higher or lower on any stat. Point, rebound, assist, whatever it is, get your picks all right. You can win up to 5,000 times your cash. In this tourney, I do have my eye on the stars, like AJ DeBonsa, BYU. He's going to want to show out. This is his last chance to show out for the NBA. I like higher on a lot of his numbers, especially points and rebounds. Download the app today. Use my promo code Willard to score $50 in bonus entries when you play your first 5. Again, the promo code is Willard. Got to be 18 or over, present in California. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play-and-get terms _DFS_.html for details if you're concerned with your play. 1-800-RESET or ncpgambling.org.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck, and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment, coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-708-5977. 800-708-5977. 800-708-5977.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
This is Larry Flick, owner of The Floor Store. This month marks our 40th anniversary, and our anniversary sale has been so popular, we're extending it for another week. So now to March 23rd, everything in every store will be 30% off. That's carpet, hardwood, laminate, waterproof flooring, and much more, all 30% off. The Floor Store's 40th anniversary sale. There's just one thing. It ends Monday. Go to floorstores.com to find the nearest of our 11 showrooms, from Santa Rosa to San Jose. The Floor Store, your Bay Area flooring authority.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. John always listens to his truck. So when his brakes start talking, he goes to AutoZone, where a helpful AutoZoner gets him the right parts. If John has time to put them in, he borrows a kit with Loan-A-Tool. And if he doesn't, he gets a free shop referral. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Deposit required for Loan-A-Tool. Restrictions apply.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right? It doesn't clean as well.
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure, concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Oh, let me make an announcement.
Attention shoppers, if you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Stop paying for watered-down detergents. Pay for clean. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Pods. Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
Reese Shea over to Landale. He'll drive it on post. Pass stolen away by Melton. Melton coming the other way. Bounce pass. Richard flies in left hand. It's up and good. Atlanta's going to call a timeout. It's a 9-0 burst for the Dubs. Quinn Snyder wants a foul call.
Now back to Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game.
It's go time from 95.7 The Game out of the University of Oregon. Make some noise for Mark Grandy.
I needed that after this kind of game. Another blowout Warrior loss. Shout out to my guy Cam in the back for bringing a smile to my face, playing that Franco Finn intro here on Warriors Wrap Up. Welcome back. Mark Randy with you on 95.7 The Game. Trying to make sense of another blowout Warrior loss. The final score shows it wasn't that bad, 126-110. It was nowhere near as close as that. The Warriors trailed by as many as 28. The Hawks only led by 2 at half, but a 27-5 beginning in the third quarter ended this game essentially still with like 16 or 18-ish minutes to play, and the Warriors ultimately lose by 16. Their third straight loss. They're 1-8 in their last 9. They're 2-10 in their last 12. They're 6-15 in the 21 consecutive games Steph has missed. They're 8-19 since Jimmy tore his ACL, and they are now looking even further up at the teams ahead of them in the Western Conference. They're down to the 10, and the gap between them and everybody else continues to grow. The Clippers won tonight. The Blazers were off. With that Clippers win and the Blazers being idle, those two teams are now even at 35-36. Clippers win that two-way tiebreaker over the Blazers. The Warriors are now 33-38, meaning they're 2 games back of both those teams. 2 games back of the Clippers and 2 games back of the Blazers. And even if they were tied with either or both of those teams, at least currently with the Clippers, they lose the tiebreak. They will lose the tiebreak with the Blazers no matter what happens the rest of the season if they are to finish tied. So a rough night of basketball for the Warriors. there is some really awesome March Madness going on today. At least we had that. If you're a diehard Warrior fan and maybe even more generally just a diehard basketball fan, at least this has not been a bad basketball day in general. Definitely a bad Warrior day. But I've got High Point, one of the Cinderellas of this tourney, probably the Cinderella of this tourney, battling with Darius Acuff and Arkansas on the TV in here right now. That's been a really fun game. I just saw moments ago Nebraska hang on in the final seconds against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt almost hit a half-court buzzer beater to win the game. Almost went in. Looked like it was going to go in, but it didn't. Gonzaga got upset by 11-seeded Texas, who was in the first four earlier. That was a great game. So at least if you are a hoop head, there's been some good basketball tonight. But it was not played by the Warriors in Atlanta earlier tonight as they lose once again, 126-110. We're going to hear from Steve Kerr coming up in just a little bit. For now, though, let's go out to the phone lines at 888-957-9570 because Steel Toe is in San Mateo, and I appreciate him for hanging on through the commercial break. What's up, Steel Toe? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up.
Thank you, Mark Grandley. I appreciate it. Love the show. I feel sorry for you. You have to talk about this game.
There are worse things. There are worse things I could be doing, but I appreciate that.
Right. What I want to talk about, what I saw today is this other superstar that this Warriors scouting team can't find. Is very ignorant in finding super talent like Alexander Walker. The guy is 6'5", got ball handling skills, and can dunk and shoot threes. And that's my problem. How the hell did Atlanta Hawks get that guy? And we can't find that guy.
Do you remember where he was last year, Steel Toe? Do you remember where Nickeil Alexander-Walker played last year?
I'm just a guess. I think it was in Minnesota.
He was. Yeah, he helped the Wolves beat the Warriors in that playoff series last year. And then they did not want to give him the money that Atlanta gave him. He signed a 4-year, $62 million deal, and it's looking like a crazy steal for Atlanta now.
Right. That's pointing out the ignorance of this organization. They're stuck on falling in love with this three-point shot. You know, that's why you're turning the ball over, because you don't value ball handling, right? You got a bunch of guys trying to pass the ball. They don't know how to dribble because you don't know how to evaluate real talent, okay? I saw that a couple of days ago. Josh Giddey, he looks like a freaking linebacker with ball handling skills. How the hell did the Bulls get Josh Giddey and not us? They're losing talent after talent. They don't know what they're doing. Here's another fear. Coming Monday, I've been following this guy because I'm on the end of my fantasy draft. Naji Marshall of the Dallas Mavericks, 6'6", ball handler, dunker. How did you know? How did you miss out on that athlete? Okay? You got to get rid of this infatuation with the three-point line and get dunking ball handlers. God damn it!
Steel Toe, I appreciate the call, and I feel every ounce of your frustration. We're good. We're good. I appreciate that, Steel Toe. Look, Nickeil Alexander-Walker is a hell of a ball player. The reality for the Warriors, and Naji Marshall's kind of come out of nowhere with Dallas the last couple of seasons and has been pretty good. He was undrafted. I think he played at Xavier in college. But before the last couple of years with Dallas, it kind of been bouncing around, I think, in the G League. But he's not like an amazing player, but I get what Steel Toe's talking about. I think that the better point is someone like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who's exploding the last few weeks with Atlanta. He's been awesome. He looks just like SGA, and there's a reason, because they're related. They're cousins, and he moves just like SGA does on the court. He has a lot of the same kind of skills. Obviously, not as good as SGA is right now, but you can tell that he's developing like crazy, and he's awesome. Atlanta, I think, admitted their fault Minnesota admitted their fault this past offseason when they let him go, and ultimately it turned out to be a sign and trade. So they did get something back for him, but they did not want to give Nickeil Alexander-Walker the 4-year, $62 million contract that the Hawks did, and that's looking like it's a crazy steal right now. But they admitted their mistake by, at the trade deadline, going out and acquiring somebody that basically does a lot of the same things that NAW, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, does. They traded for Ayo Dosunmu of the Chicago Bulls, and I know that they're not the same player, and Dosunmu is not as good as Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but he feels a lot of the same roles as NAW does, and they admitted their mistake. The reality was the Warriors, as presently constructed, with Steph and with Jimmy and with Draymond, and without a lot of money elsewhere, they could not go out and acquire somebody like Nickeil Alexander-Walker. And I think Steel Toe is talking more about like developing, finding, drafting, developing these players than going out and signing them like this past offseason. And that is fair. I mean, they've missed on their high-profile picks, specifically James Wiseman and Jonathan Kuminga. Moody's a decent return for where you picked him late in the lottery. I don't think anybody's terribly upset at that, although there were players that from that draft that were drafted after Moody that have done more than Moses, but that happens in every draft. So those are obviously gigantic swings and misses, particularly the Wiseman one, because that was second overall, and he's not even in the league, and he's rapping now. No offense, James, but that's not what you expect your number 2 overall pick to be doing this early after he was drafted. They've actually done a decent job of finding, like, later in the draft, some quality players. Like, did anybody expect Will Richard, picked late in the second round, to be this impactful in his rookie year? I know he's not amazing. No one's going to mistake him for an all-star, at least not right now, but you got more than you possibly could have dreamt of from him given where you picked him. Same thing could be said for Quentin Post, who, again, is having, frankly, in my opinion, a pretty rough sophomore year, particularly on the offensive end. His three-point shot, been better the last couple of games he's played, but for the most part has left him this season. But still, more than you generally expect from a person picked where he got picked. And I know this enrages a lot of Warrior fans, but I absolutely believe it to be 100% inarguable fact. Where you drafted Brendan Podziemski, he's given you more than most picks do at that stage in the draft. And if you were to do a redraft of Podziemski's draft, he would go much higher than where he was picked. Is he a perfect player? Is he an all-star? No. It was a pretty top-heavy draft with Victor Wembanyama, but Podziemski would go higher than where he was picked. So there are multiple sides to this coin. They've missed some pretty high-profile ones. They did a pretty decent job later on in draft. It's what makes this draft so intriguing, and something I talked about with Dibs on Willers and Dibs on Friday was, would you rather them be in the lottery or go to a postseason series and avoid the lottery? And frankly, I think what's best for the organization is to be in that lottery. Whether you win the lottery and you go all the way up to the top 4, you pick 11th, you pick 12th, whatever it is, whether you draft a player or you trade that pick, I think it's worth it to be in that draft lottery this year, because this is a crazy good draft, and there could even be a good player coming up like 10th, 11th, 12th overall that the Warriors might be able to get their hands on. So I get 100%, I get Steel Toe's frustration. And Steel Toe's probably listening, screaming at the radio right now and screaming at me and cursing me out because I might be missing his point. And his point isn't about, all right, you turned Podziemski into that pick into a pretty decent player in Podziemski, and it's more about the prototype, the type of player that you're picking. You know, putting an emphasis on a certain skill set and a certain type of basketball player, the player that is long and athletic, that can dribble and that can dunk and that sort of thing. And that's fair. That's what's in style in today's NBA. Everybody wants those players. It's hard to get your hands on those players. That's what Kuminga was supposed to be. But Kuminga, for whatever reason, it hasn't worked out. Didn't work out with the Warriors to the point where they felt they needed to move him and Buddy Hield for a player that is on and off the floor for the Warriors now in Kristaps Porzingis. So, I don't know. The frustration is warranted. Absolutely warranted. All right. 888-957-9570. We're going to go to the Steve Kerr's presser in just a second. I did want to address this text that came in on the Boxer and Gerson Work Injury Attorneys text line. The 650 asks, is there an update on Seth? I'd like both Curry brothers to finish the year on the court together. Thanks. From the 650. Good question. I've been awaiting an update on both Seth Curry and Al Horford. The Warriors announced, last Sunday, which was the 15th, that they both underwent MRIs. Seth Curry with a adductor strain and Al Horford with a calf strain. They both underwent MRIs. They ruled them out for the week, and they said that they will be reevaluated in another week. So if the Warriors are true to their word and they reevaluate those two guys a week after the last reevaluation, that reevaluation would come out tomorrow. I don't know 100% that the Warriors will do it on the dot 1 week after, but based on what they said last time, we should expect an update on both Seth Curry and Al Horford relatively soon. Maybe tomorrow, maybe day of the game Monday in Dallas, we shall see. But there should be some more information coming for the Warriors on both Seth Curry and Al Horford shortly. And, of course, we'll keep you updated whether we're on the air live and local tomorrow or we won't be live and local tomorrow. But whether we are, if it happens on Monday or we're not, you can also find it on all of our social accounts on Twitter or X, on Instagram, on Facebook. We'll post everything there as well to keep you updated. But, yeah, it's kind of crazy, 650. Seth has been on this team not quite all season because if you remember early in the year, there was the issue of the contract not fitting under the Warriors' hard cap at the second apron. So they needed to wait and let that contract prorate to amount that they could squeeze under that second apron where they were hard capped at. So he hasn't been on the team all season, but since then has been. And he and Steph has still not played a second together of regular season NBA basketball. They still have not played together. So waiting on that very patiently. When Seth played his first couple of games, Steph was out with a minor injury. Then Seth developed a sciatica, kept him out for 3 months while Steph played. Then a little before Seth Curry came back, Steph went down with his runners. He that's kept him out for nearly 2 months now. And Seth played a couple of games, but now he got another issue dealing with that left adductor strain, does Seth Curry. So an update probably coming tomorrow, if not on Monday, from the Warriors on both Seth Curry and on Al Horford as well. Okay, let's hear from Steve Kerr. He addressed the media postgame in Atlanta tonight as the Warriors fall 126-110. They've lost 3 games in a row. They're now 2 games behind both the 8 and the 9 seed in the Western Conference. They seem like they're getting pretty close to being locked into that 10 seed. We'll talk more about that after we hear from Steve Kerr as well. Here is the coach of the Dubs after tonight's loss in Atlanta.
Where do you think it went sideways?
Beginning of the third, actually even the last, minute or so of the second. But second game in a row, we've lost our space 5 with Kristaps last night, QP tonight. And I'm not saying, that's why we lost both games. I'm well aware of the importance of having a guy who can stretch the floor at the 5 spot, especially when you're facing great defensive teams. And Atlanta and Detroit are 2 of the very best in the league at ball hawking, getting deflections, steals. So if you don't have that space 5, it makes life really, really difficult.
What did you hear on Quentin?
Foot started to get sore second quarter. Rick told us at halftime he was done.
And then we didn't ask you pregame about Kristaps. Do you know much?
I don't know much. I just knew he was out tonight.
Yeah, beyond losing Quentin, it's a couple times now you guys have played pretty well in the first half. And sort of lost touch in the third quarter.
Yeah.
Any trend? How do you see that that's causing that?
I just mentioned it. Yeah, I mean, that's the trend, like the space 5, like now all of a sudden, Melt and BP, it's harder for them to penetrate. And as I said, both games were going against amazing defenders, Daniels, Thompson last night, guys who can really be disruptive. And if you don't have the 5 who can space the floor, it makes offense really tricky. And when you're missing Steph and Jimmy and Moses, life gets really difficult.
The idea for this team has been to stay afloat as much as you can while Steph has been out. That hasn't
exactly been the case? Just how frustrating has this stretch been?
It's the hardest thing, to go through. Losing and being decimated by injury and just feeling like you're pushing, you're trying, you're playing hard, you're competing, but things aren't going your way. It's tough time for sure for everybody. It's human nature to kind of get down, hang your head, and I'm just trying to encourage the guys to keep competing, but to try to bring the energy and stay positive, because reinforcements will come and we have to be ready for that. But in the meantime, I'm proud of the way they're playing. They're playing hard, and but they're in a tough spot. We're all in a tough spot right now.
Steve, what have you seen from Nate so far?
Nate's been great. He's been, he's a really good young guy, very coachable. He's got a live body. You can see he can score, in the paint. He knocked down his first three tonight, which was nice. He's got a good touch, and I thought Nate was excellent. I thought, Mally, he got a pretty bad wrist injury last night. He literally couldn't use his right hand, and we needed some minutes, and he gave us 9 or 10 minutes today and played hard, and I love that. I love the continuing to just contribute and do what you can in the face of what we're dealing with. It's awesome. We had really good individual performances from some guys, but it just wasn't enough. But can't fault the effort.
You talked to fuel your offense without Steph and then potentially play alongside Steph.
Right.
How significant is it for him to play back-to-back like this?
Yeah, it's meaningful. The hope is that he can continue to do this, and that when we do get, Steph and Moses and Al and Kristaps, we've got, the firepower that we need. Melt will really thrive because he's not going to have the best defender on him, which he's had the last couple of nights. So his health is everything. I'm so happy for him. I mean, guy missed 2 years with injuries, and he's in the prime of his career, and such a great teammate, such a great guy to coach, and just thrilled for him that he's healthy and playing well and, back doing what he loves to do.
Just the past few games, you've seen the best defender on him. Or has it been longer than that? Steps on this ground.
It's been, either BP or Melt has the toughest defender on them perimeter-wise. So we have Steph's out. Jimmy's out.
All right, that's Steve Kerr post-game tonight in Atlanta as the Dubs fall 126-110. I mean, yeah, when in terms of breaking down what happened in this game, and I highlighted the turnovers, 21 more turnovers, leading to 38 points for the Hawks. That is now last 2 nights for the Warriors in Detroit and in Atlanta tonight. 47 Warriors turnovers, leading to 70 opponent points. I don't care who you are, you're going to go 0-2 in those games if that's the number of turnovers and points off of turnovers you allow. But in terms of maybe what led to them tonight specifically, and also last night with Porzingis leaving the game in the first half, much like what happened with Quentin Post tonight. He started and got his shot to go, was 3 of 6 from the field, 2 of 5, scored 8 points all in the first half, did not play in the second half, and the game kind of changed late second quarter, but then it was fully swinging in favor of Atlanta at the beginning of the third quarter. Warriors play without a stretch 5 because once Post went down tonight, once Porzingis went down last night, you're already down Al, and you're down the other guys. You don't have a stretch 5, and that just makes it so much more difficult on the Warriors offense. And what Steve Kerr was talking about was that makes it difficult on Melton to break down the defense off the dribble. Same thing for Podziemski. Same thing for Pat Spencer when he's in the game, because there's so much less spacing on the floor. That one way that the opponents know the Warriors can't score on them is, say, Melton driving and scoring, because that's what Melton has been really good at. Remember the Wizards game where he scored, 27, 26 points? I don't know off the top of my head, something like that, without making a 3. And he was incredibly efficient because all of his attempts were right around the rim. That's what opponents know. And when you are out there on the floor without a lot of shooters, namely at that 5 spot where the Warriors have kind of gotten used to having a spacing 5 on the floor, whether it's Horford or Porzingis or post, it just collapses the defense because there's fewer shooters out there for defenses to have to worry about. And you can kind of pack the paint and make it more difficult on Melton, on Podziemski, on Spencer, and on any other ball handler for the Warriors. So from an X's and O's standpoint, that's kind of what happened tonight. But man, the Warriors are absolutely beat up, more so than probably any other team in the NBA right now. But it is difficult to see the same story in terms of the turnovers happening just about every single night. So with this loss, the Warriors now on the year are 33-38. They are 5 games below 500 for the first time this season. They've lost 3 games in a row. They're 1-8 in their last 9. They're 2-10 in their last 12. They're 6-15 since Steph went down. They're 8-19 since Jimmy went down. And they're a full 2 games behind both the Clippers and the Blazers. A full 2 games behind the Clippers and the Blazers, who are the 2 teams directly ahead of the Warriors in the standings. Clippers currently win a tiebreak over Portland, so they're 8. Blazers are 9. Then the Warriors are 2 games behind both of them at 10. There are 11 games left for the Warriors, and you have to make up really more like 3 games on one of those 2 teams because you will lose the tiebreaker to Portland. It feels very likely that you will lose the tiebreaker to the Clippers, and you will lose a 3-way tiebreaker. So you have to leapfrog at least one of those teams in order to avoid being the 10. And if you want to be the 8, which is where the big difference comes in, because if you're the 8, you have 2 chances to win 1 play-in game as opposed to being the 9 or the 10, having to win 2 play-in games to make the playoffs. If you want to get to the 8, you have to jump both of those teams that are 2 games ahead of you and will win the tiebreaker over you. So in order to do that, over the course of 11 games, let's say the Warriors miraculously find a way to go 8-3 in their final 11, okay? Let's just pretend. And they finish 500. 8-3 would be 41-41. Let's just say they go 8-3 in their final 11. In order for the Warriors to leapfrog the Clippers and the Blazers would have to go in their final 11 5-6. If you go 8-3, which seems absolutely crazy to even suggest, you need both the Clippers and the Blazers to go 5-6. That's the way it gets done. And for every extra loss that you have, say you go instead of 8-3, you go 7-4, that means the Blazers would have to go, what would that be? 7-4, you have to make up 3 games. They would have to go 4-7 in their remaining 11 games. That seems they both have to do that. That seems very unlikely. So it's looking very, very, very likely the Warriors will be in the bottom half of the play-in, more than likely the 10 as opposed to the 9. But even if you're the 9, you have to win 2 play-in games just to go to the postseason and take on the reigning NBA champion OKC Thunder. And you're probably going to have to do both those games on the road because the 10 is 10 times more likely. So, yeah, not looking great. Not looking great for the Warriors. The 10 seed seems pretty much gift-wrapped for them at this point, which does give them a bit of freedom if they accept that that's likely where they're headed. You don't have like a crazy amount of pressure on you to win a lot of basketball games right now. And you can kind of just do your thing in your final 11 games, get Steph back up to speed. Hopefully you get him working alongside Kristaps. You get Moody back. You get Horford back. And you try to gear up for the gauntlet of multiple play-in games and then a playoff series. But that's kind of all that you have to look forward to right now is that first play-in game, probably in Portland or in LA versus the Clippers, because you are in all likelihood, going to be the 10 seed in the Western Conference, which again means you got to win 2 games just to be the 8 seed and take on OKC. And what's coming up next for the Warriors? You have easier matchups. The next 3 games are absolutely easier than the last 3. You just played Boston, Detroit, and Atlanta. Those are the 2 top teams in the East and one of the hottest teams in the NBA. Up next, you're in you're in Dallas, in Dallas on Monday to close out the 6-game road trip. Dallas just played the Clippers really tight tonight, but that's nowhere near as good of a team as Detroit or Boston or anywhere near as hot as Atlanta is. Dallas is, setting themselves up for the lottery again. Dallas currently comes in as the 13 seed. They're 23-48. They might be able to catch the Utah Jazz and up their ping pong ball chances just a little bit. So they're trying to lose, or at least not super eager to win. And then you return home for Brooklyn on Wednesday and Washington 6 days from now on Friday, two teams that are interested in losing as well. So maybe you can win both of those games at home. Then you have Denver on the road, San Antonio at home, Cleveland at home, Houston at home, Sacramento at home, the Lakers at home, in Sacramento and in LA to close out the regular season. So you got some games like Dallas, Brooklyn, Washington, and then the two Sacramentos that you feel like you should be able to win even if you're severely injured. You should win at least a few of those games, you would think, because a lot of them are at home. But then you've also got Denver, San Antonio, Cleveland, Houston, both LA teams. Those are all going to be really hard as well. So we'll see. But the 10 seed does seem to be pretty neatly in the Warriors' future. Up next for the Dubs, as I mentioned, in Dallas on Monday. Tip is at 6:30, which means Warriors Live begins at 5:30 here on 95.7 The Game. Before I get out of here, I want to remind you that you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM in HD1 San Francisco, an Odyssey sports station, always live on the free Odyssey app, and now broadcasting from the Laughing Monk Studios. That's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Mark Graney signing off. Thanks to Cam Williams behind the glass. Shout out as well to Steven Risotto for cutting up all the sound tonight. And thanks to you for tuning in here on a Warriors Wrap-Up on this Saturday evening on 95.7 The Game. I will talk to you coming up on Monday. Until then, have a great weekend, and we'll talk next time on 95.7 The Game.
In 1848, James Marshall discovered gold at